Welcome to the Borderland Beat Podcast, streaming live from the Southwest. The Borderland Beat Project is a collaboration from a group of people of different backgrounds, located in the United States and Mexico. These people gather information related to the Mexican drug cartels and present it in English through the internet, publications, and presentations. This show will give a perspective of the complicated issues of both neighboring countries, Mexico and the United States. We will cover the cartel activities and how one side can impact the other. It is important for both sides of the border to understand how mayhem and ruthless violence from organized crime touches the people on the border and the miseries it brings to everyday social conditions we sometimes call civilization. Because cartel crime in Mexico is extremely violent, this show depicts large amounts of very graphic material. The need to present graphic source material is vital in showing a true representation of the extent of violence generated by the Mexican drug cartels upon the people of Mexico and the United States. The Mexican drug war is an ongoing armed conflict taking place among rival drug cartels that fight each other for regional control of the plazas, and Mexican government forces which seeks to combat drug trafficking. Although Mexican drug cartels or drug trafficking organizations, also known as DTO, have existed for a few decades, they have become more powerful since the demise of Colombia's Cali and Medellin cartels in the 1990s. The information that we will be presenting is fast-paced, with a lot of DTO information thrown at you all at once. It's filled with sicario activities and the Mexican government's attempt to intervene. But it also contains a lot of direct behind-the-scenes information from the moderator Bugs. This particular information is the involvement of Bugs from his early stages when he started to formalize his plan to bring to life the Borderland Beat Project. Let's follow Bugs as he sets the stage and takes you on a wild ride into the dark shadows of the violence and chaos of the Mexican drug cartels. The narrative as told in the deep dark pages of the Borderland Beat blog. Welcome to the podcast.
Welcome to the show, Bugs.
Hey, happy to be here for one more.
We got a special guest. We're going through Skype to, we can't talk about locations, but a very special guest will be joining us here live. She is actually on the other line right now, standing by, and we're going to talk to her about her experiences down south. And why don't you kind of give an introduction a little bit about who she is?
Sure. So we have actually a collaborator from the Borderland Beat blog. She goes by the name of Ovemex. And she was involved with contributing. She was actually an administrator for the Borderland Beat blog. She was active between 2009 through 2010. Was very active. Lived in Tamaulipas, Mexico, right during the, when the Zetas were taking on the Gulf cartel. After they moved, the big Zeta bosses like the Zeta 40 and Lasca, they were very active against the Gulf cartel. I don't know if some people remember Tony Tormenta and company. And so we'll be talking a lot about that. But we're going to show a little clip kind of during the time that she was over there was a lot of bloggers that were getting killed. And there was a lot of threats and a lot of, they had been going after journalists, reporters.
Yeah, it's a scary business.
Yeah, and Mexico, as everyone knows, Mexico is one of the most dangerous places for journalists. But they started also going after people in social media, bloggers, people on Facebook and so forth. So we're going to show a little bit of, she ended up doing a few interviews with some of the media, mainstream media. So we'll show a little bit of that so kind of people have an idea who she is.
So we're going to show a little introduction video and stand by.
excerpt is from the book Borderland Beat. The chapter, Mexican Drug War Blogger Risks His Life Daily. This is from an article by The Daily Dot on former Borderland Beat reporter OVMX. Author of the book is Alex Morentes.
When a fourth person turned up dead earlier in 2010 in the Mexican border town of Nuevo Laredo, 4 posts made online about drug cartels, OVMX was one of the first to report it. He was also very aware that his actions could put him in grave danger. He might be the next social media reporter to be brutally killed by Los Zetas, the cartel suspected in the 4 brutal murders. Of course I am concerned about my own safety, said OVMX, who is an administrator of Borderland Beat, a blog that is considered a leading source for news on the Mexican drug war. But my fear of living life under these conditions indefinitely, and my fear of never seeing change, unless we actively participate in the pursuit and creation of it, is much greater. OVMX, who asked that only his Twitter handle be used when he spoke to the Daily Dot, is part of a network of faceless citizen journalists sharing information about drug cartels. Many mainstream media outlets in Mexico have had their drug war coverage silenced, either through threats or bribes, forcing people to Twitter and blogs like Borderland Beat for news about the cartels. Unlike the Arab Spring uprisings earlier in 2010, information shared on sites like Borderland Beat in Mexico is mainly about day-to-day survival and navigating the most violent cities safely. OVMX, however, is holding out hope that the grassroots, citizen journalists movement will build into a means of enacting change and put an end to a war that has claimed more than 43,000 lives since 2006. A person on Twitter who retweets info is helping, OVMX said. A person who simply reads everything they can get their hands on is helping. Much as they did with traditional journalists, the cartels have started killing administrators of the crime blogs in hopes of silencing them. In addition to 3 people killed in September of 2010, Rascatripas, an administrator on another crime news site, was killed in November of 2010. His decapitated body was found with a note saying he was killed for failing to understand, "I must not report on social networks." OVMX went on to say, "I don't think these killings and threats will have their desired effect, not in the long run. Mexico is awakening and wants to speak. We want the truth known. They cannot silence us all, especially on the internet where fragments of information are continuously and anonymously passed forward over and over again. The anonymous nature of the information sharing network presents problems as readers try to determine what information is accurate and what information is false. As originally reported by the Daily Dot, the cartels have been posting false information on social networks to divert law enforcement away from where they are operating. OVMX said determining which information is accurate and should be passed on is an acquired skill based on trust. OVMX said, "There is no science to this, no immediate, definite way of knowing the absolute truth. On the internet you cannot rely on traditional social skills. Trust is a key issue. You cannot see who you are speaking or listening to, there are no body movements or facial expressions to give hint to their character. Over time you will find those you trust, as well as learn to read signs." OVMX said, "You learn to read and comprehend what is communicated by media, as well as what is not. And then you start putting the pieces of the puzzle together." OVMX put it simply, "They are us, we are them. Their power is in anonymity and their numbers. We all work, for the most part, with the same idea in mind, to create awareness and hopefully change, but that is all we know about them. To me what is important and necessary is for Mexico to unite in this battle. Everybody knows something," he said. "The information and truths are out there, you just have to know where to look and how to put it together."
Thank you for listening. The book Borderland Beat can be purchased on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Walmart and anywhere books are sold. Just search for Borderland Beat. Until next time.
Wow, thank you. Thank you, Stephen Hawking, for that fascinating introduction.
Yeah, so of course on that introduction, it refers to her as he. So, when you live in Mexico, especially Tamaulipas during that time, they had a lot of violence, a lot of cartel activity going on. You don't mess around with your identity. Bloggers were actually getting killed over there.
Well, just what a couple of weekends ago, National Geographic went down there to do a story on them, and they all got shot up.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They went over there to interview a drug dealer, and up over there in Juarez, and someone from La Línea actually killed the guy they were interviewing and shot that guy in the leg. So they had to actually escort him out of Juarez. So it's extremely dangerous out there when you're reporting, and that's something that you don't play around with. So that's why we have her as a guest. We're going to conceal her identity.
Yeah, we have her disguised, and so yeah. But without further ado, let's bring her on camera through the awesomeness of Skype. Are you there, Ovamix?
I am. Thank you.
Well, welcome to the show. Thanks for coming on. I know I know this is crazy business that we're involved in, and we appreciate your time and what you've done to help report about what's going on over there.
So, Ovamix, thank you for coming on. You were part of the Borderland Beat blog way back then, reporting
Yes.
on news on Tamaulipas. Can you tell us a little bit about your experience, how you ended up becoming a blogger for Borderland Beat, or BB as is known?
Well, I'm not a reporter. I'm not. I happened upon it to help. At the time, the mainstream media knew nothing. Nobody came into Mexico. Our Mexican government denied everything, and the Mexican people, especially those of Tamaulipas, were desperately trying to get the truth out. I saw an opportunity to help in the way of getting it into the U.S. through Borderland Beat, to give voices to some of those that were desperately screaming, but it was all falling on deaf ears.
So when you were reporting for Borderland Beat, no one knew your identity. I mean, even some of us knew a little bit about you, but not even other collaborators. No one knows who is who. And in your personal circle, in your personal life, did anyone know that you were a Borderland Beat?
No. I didn't share with anyone, especially those close to me. It wouldn't have been understood, and there was enough fear, and everyone was terrified. There was no reason to bring more.
So during the time that you were in Tamaulipas, I did some reporting. I mean, there was a lot of cartel activity going on in Tamaulipas. Mostly the Zetas were battling their cartel. They used to be an arm wing of the Gulf cartel. They decided to break away and form their own cartel. The big capo figures like Lasca and Zeta 40 and those guys were, you don't see that much of a powerful capo presence now. We see a lot of the cartels that are more fragmented nowadays. Other than El Mencho that's making a lot of headway, we really don't see anyone really stepping up like, people like El Chapo, and I guess, we don't hear a lot about El Mayo himself.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
But tell us, what was happening over there when you were over there in relation to the cartel activity where you were from?
I think so much of what happened, they say hindsight is 20/20. So much of it, perhaps, I'd like to say that we just didn't see it coming, and in one moment it was there. But if you look back, you can see there were new people in town. There were luxury vehicles in town. There were so many different things happening, but nobody really knew, could place a finger. It just didn't seem so off until you were already taken over, and life just changed. It from unofficial narco curfews to daily shootouts, narco blockades, to living your life through Twitter. Twitter at that time was truly a revolution. The people of Reynosa and Mexico Rojo hashtags, they truly were pioneers.
The public depended on a lot on the social media because there was a media blackout, wasn't there, during that time?
Absolutely, and not just the public. Us civilians, we learned to depend on Twitter to get from point A to point B. Wow. If you were going into town to go to the groceries, you don't go without checking Twitter, and you continue checking en route. It was a safe net. It was an incredible force of unknown faces that were guiding you each step of the way.
So let me interrupt you a little bit there. I got a question for you. Obviously, we're not going to disclose your location, but do you feel safe where you're at right now? I mean, are you comfortable going about with all the reporting that you did past tense and that you still do?
I think for the most part, or many times I do feel, but all of a sudden something will come up or just old past customs. I caught myself, and this was probably 6 months ago, out of the blue. I was driving down the road and I happened to notice that I just looked to my side and there was an Escalade right next to me. And for a moment, it was fear. It was, my God, how did I let my guard down?
And for those that don't understand that reference, a lot of the cartel members drive Escalades. That's one of their trademark.
Denali's.
Luxury.
Big luxury SUVs.
Full-size vehicles.
The Yukon, the
trucks,
Denali's.
Trucks. So do you still have contacts over there in Tamaulipas? I mean, you don't have to go into detail, of course.
I do.
But you lived. How long did you live over there for?
20 years.
Okay, so you were there quite a while. Mm-hmm. In Tamaulipas, and so tell us about what was happening with all the bloggers and all the social media citizen reporters that were taking the role of the media, mainstream media. But all of a sudden, the cartels focused on the bloggers and social media citizen reporters. Can you tell us a little bit what happened with that?
Absolutely. The only way to move information was via word of mouth, or in that sense, Twitter. Twitter proved to be quite invaluable because it just, one tweet is sent and 1,000, 2,000 can retweet. Where did it start? How did it begin? And people were demanding to be heard and to try to keep her safe. So, yes, it was like a underground railroad of vital information. Just, I still have so many contacts that I've got to tell you, I've never met them. So many of them personally. If they were standing next to me, I may not know, but I entrusted my life and those of others so many times. I could say, I have someone I know that's passing through here.
Well, that works both ways. It actually works both ways. You don't know them and they don't know you, so it kind of helps keep that whole anonymity part.
And that's important because over there, there was a few of the bloggers that were actually executed. And one of the MOs of the cartels is they just don't kill you. They'll abduct you. They'll torture you. They'll have you talk. And under those conditions, man, you can't blame people for saying things, saying everything. And it's a safety mechanism, right? Safety mechanism to make sure that someone doesn't know the information so they don't kind of,
Exactly, because it wasn't just to silence people. It was to truly make a point of, this is what we will do to you. It was a brutal and graphic and horrific point that you must stop speaking.
So when they hung those two bloggers on that bridge, do you remember that?
Yeah.
And they put a note where they made threats of all the other bloggers that they were coming after them.
They named names.
So how did that make you feel?
Obviously frightened, but there became a time where you're frightened every day. It's a part of life now, fear. And there comes a point where you realize that we're all just doing a very small part, but if we stop, we have no chance of change. At least by doing something, we possibly have a chance, and we can get the information out, and we may save others, or we may just bring enough attention to get a change. When the people begin using their voices, as they say, a power is in number, and to have those united voices that, small voices all around saying, I won't be silenced. I'm going to keep trying.
It's a great attitude.
I will do what I can. And that is exactly what it was all about. Nobody wanted to be a hero. Nobody wanted to be famous. Nobody was looking for, drug war fame. It was life, and it was survival.
And providing a service, because, nobody was reporting it. And, one thing that I was very proud of our team of collaborators, of reporters, citizen reporters on Borderland Beat, it was not just collaborating and finding information, but just working together and researching and everything else. I know that you were real close to Gerardo, another collaborator, that was also very active along with you.
Yes, absolutely. We were, Gerda and I, we were very close. We confided in one another. We discussed, fears and hopes, and the same as I did with you. We were all. It's just like everything else, just like that underground information highway of Twitter. It was a union, and we depended on one another. And it really, to get that information out.
So, Ovimex, I got to ask you, so with Bugs, we've talked about it a couple of times, where what really got him interested in following this issue was the event with little Alicia from his school when he was doing his SRO stuff. Was there an incident that happened to you that just made you want to follow this up as a for a living? Was there one specific incident, or was it just living over there and seeing it every day that made you want to get into it?
I think one of the scariest things, or things that I saw, were just, maybe it's what I didn't see anymore. When you go into, you go down your street and you no longer see people sitting outside on their porches. You no longer see people walking through the plaza and taking their kids by the hand and walking through the streets. It's a horrific change. People are no longer living.
Yeah, they're not living their normal life anymore. They're just living in fear.
Exactly. That's exactly what.
And there's
did it.
Yeah, and there's a big difference. Like me, I was here in the U.S. I wasn't ever, although I was an active police officer, but I was living in the U.S. versus you were living in Mexico, which, it's the scary thing, that you're there. But I was gonna ask you about something that happened when I was. There was a time where there was this guy named Pedro that he was on the witness protection program, and he started filtering a lot of classified information. Actually, it was mostly information that was, that was not, part of.
It was classified.
It was classified. It wasn't like it had anything to do with, national security, but it was a lot of information that the naval intelligence was gathering, and he started sending me a lot of the military records of high specialized military that had deserted the military and joined the Zetas mainly. And I didn't know what to do with a lot of information. And the first one I reached out to was you. Do you remember that? And,
yeah, I do.
And I was asking you, and I got kind of worried, but I had asked you if you could verify some of the information because of the fact that nobody really had this information other than, I wasn't even sure. I think I ended up that the U.S. did have it, but the public didn't. And I had asked you, and I sent you some of the military records they were confidential in nature. And I asked you if you could find a way to get confirmation, do you remember that? Can you tell me a little bit about your side of that? What happened?
That's when I would not like to get too deep into.
I got you.
But yes, throughout time on Twitter and. Just living, you come into contact with a lot of people, and I did happen to have
people that you
some
know,
contacts that I knew that
right.
that I could trust, and at least ask them, is this an official document?
Right.
And which they immediately confirmed, and were actually beyond shocked that.
Right, and as you know, he ended up also giving us information that's it's not a secret. It's actually on the Borderland Beat because we published it. But basically, what happened is he had sent us information about a search warrant. That there was a suspected Islamic terrorist that was planning to bomb the U.S. Mexican in the U.S. Embassy in Mexico, and he gave us all kinds of documents that included pictures, the name of the suspect, what they found,
ID,
and we ended up publishing that.
The ID.
And the ID, remember the voter ID?
Yeah, exactly. That's how actually had the ID. We were never looking for any type of Islamic filtration that was so out of our realm,
right.
But yet it still fell into our laps.
Yeah, and it did, and we ran with it. We collaborated together. We in between me, you, and Gerardo, were able to put together a couple of posts on Borderland Beat that ended up going viral in Mexico.
It went viral in many places. If you can do a search for that, you will find it in many high up.
Yes.
It was viewed by many different government agencies on both sides.
Correct. Yeah, and in fact, that prompted the FBI to come looking for me.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's in the book, but but you played a big role in that whole aspect. I mean, I had tons of just classified, confidential information from this person that was in the witness protection program in Florida. It's all in the book, and I go into a lot of detail on that. But I just want to say that you played a really big role in trying to sort through all that and trying to figure out, what we had, because many times we didn't. I mean, he was sending me. They were tracking Lasca, the top boss of the Zetas, and he somehow, I don't know if it was the U.S. or the Naval Intelligence, they actually had his cell phone ID, and they were tracking him, and I would get like daily locations where he was, and of course they ended up catching him and they killed him in a shootout. And but you know, a lot of that stuff, you know, was kind of scary even for me. We never published that. We eventually ended up publishing some of that information, but at the time, you know, I was like, oh man, I don't know, you know, if it puts it puts people in you know, their safety, you know, so you just never know. So, and you did, not just me, but you did a lot of that where you would get information, you know, most of it wasn't even getting reported from mainstream media. And sometimes, you know, like me, I didn't really care that much if they found out who I was. But for you, it was, you know, important that they did not know who you were. So sometimes, you know, when you report on something and you're giving detail, you know, they can narrow it down and try to find you.
Absolutely.
And cartels are, you know, they don't take that kindly.
They're not big on forgiveness. So, yeah. So it was. I think so much was happening, like I said, back in those days, and it was so fresh and it was so raw, and it just seemed like nobody was listening. And so we just had to just throw ourselves into it with hope that we could make a small difference, that somebody would hear us, that it would get out. And it did. It took a while. Like I said, it was just such a blackout through Mexico.
Oh, yeah. And Borderland Beat ended up being one of the leading Mexican cartel venues for information.
Without a doubt.
Yeah. So, I mean, there wasn't a lot going on. And even now, there isn't a lot going on even now. People, I mean, you still have a lot of the social media and Twitter and Facebook.
Yeah.
But, you know, I mean, you know, me and Mark were talking about not a lot of people doing podcasts on Mexican cartels.
Yeah, there might be a reason for that. I don't know.
And the other problem that we notice is not easy to get people to come on the show.
Well, last week's guest made us delete the show 30 minutes after she drove out of here. So it's not really. I mean, we joke about it just because it's one of those things that's very serious.
It is something to consider, and it is very scary. And to reopen yourself to something like that, we did a lot of things that, and again, we were. What you created, Borderland Beat, was the top information source because of the fact that it wasn't a blog de narco that was, or other ones that was just looking for shock and awe. Yeah. It was truly reporting, and yes, we showed the, like I said, I remember when I wrote a post and I showed a child that had been killed, and boy, I got torn into, and I completely understood the remarks and comments, but I did it not to show this poor child dead, but to show that this is happening to children everywhere in Mexico right now. This is our reality.
People in the U.S. like to close their windows and their blinds so they don't see it, what is happening over there. But we made him look. We made him see what is happening. Unfiltered, you know, in your face reporting of what is happening. Yeah. And like you said, raw, you know, it was like we were getting, you know, execution videos from you know, cartel members. And of course, you know, we weren't like Blog del Narco that they just did it for, you know, so they can get viewers. We did it because it had a newsworthy, a story behind it. And that's mostly the reason that we did it. And people needed to know. You know, just so you know, when I was in law enforcement, I was a police officer, and every officer that I spoke with had no idea what was happening over there. You know, so it was a matter of educating. You know, Juarez was one of the most dangerous cities in 2008. And El Paso only had like 13 homicides that year in 2008. And people had no clue what was happening right across the border, where, proximity to where I live.
Exactly. You had one of the safest cities in America, literally on the border of the murder capital.
El Paso, yeah, we talk about that all the time.
Of Mexico, of North America, of the world.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, in 2008, Juarez was the most dangerous city in the world. I think they were getting like 13 to 17 executions daily over there. When the Sinaloa, tried to take the plaza, the Juarez Plaza, and it was like a battleground. It was, slaughter.
It was daily.
Yeah. So, but people had no clue. I mean, it wasn't getting the coverage, over here. I mean, if you wanted to read about the cartel, even now, the only way you're gonna find it mostly is gonna be on Borderland Beat blog, and I commend all the contributors. Not even now that they keep it going, that they continue to move forward and report on it. Overmex, you were over there. It was dangerous, but you kept going. You didn't stop. You didn't let the fear. I mean, believe me, everybody is afraid. It's natural, it's normal. But you didn't let that stop you. You continued to report and continue to contribute, even though, there was a risk.
Yeah.
So I commend you for that, and all the collaborators. Borderland Beat is still your number one source of information for drug cartel.
Yeah, for those of you new to the whole experience, Borderland Beat does have a Twitter page, a YouTube page. It's got every social media out there to kind of keep up on things. But the most information and most popular site is the website borderlandbeat.com, where all of the horrible videos are shown in their entirety, and it is a real-time information about what's going on down there. So go ahead and visit that website if you're interested in this stuff, because it's talking right up into to the moment about what's going on. And we're gonna be talking a little bit here in a couple minutes about the 14 state cops, Mexican state police officers that got killed down there. And that's just information that's just coming in, and this is all real-time information that you guys still get and contribute to the page.
Correct. So, before we leave, Overmex, is there anything else you want to say or share with the audience before we move on?
I think as far as sharing, I am so proud of what you created, Bugs, is that platform that could and did truly make a difference. It gave voice to those who had been silenced, and it truly made a difference, and it continues to. And I'm thrilled, and it's probably one of I never thought about why I was doing it or what I was doing at the time. It just seemed like it needed done, but it's probably one of my most proudest moments was to have that opportunity to help and to give voice.
Well, Overmex, I mean, I want to commend you and compliment you for coming on today and talking to us. It's very brave of you, obviously, and we appreciate it.
And you can stay on. So anytime
you're more than welcome to listen.
Anytime you want to jump in, go ahead. You're more than welcome to jump in.
Yeah, we're gonna leave you live on the side there, just in case, so we can go back and forth. So we kind of want to move on and talk about some news that's going on down south. So why don't you get into that?
Yeah. So Monday there was 4 Michoacan state police officers driving through a little town in Michoacan, doing patrol. Aguililla, Michoacan. It's a small town in the Tierra Caliente area. And they were ambushed by the Jalisco cartel, the CJNG.
So just so we have bearings, what part of Mexico is this?
So that's in Michoacan. Michoacan is a beautiful, beautiful area. Not real far from Mexico City. You know, it's in the inland of Mexico. So, anyways, they're driving through. You know, there's 14. The trucks, they're fully
caravan.
Caravan. The 4 trucks of, police trucks. They're armed with assault rifles, and they get ambushed by the Jalisco cartel, and they get into a gunfight, and all 14 of the police officers are killed. If you can imagine that happening in the United States, a 14 state police officers killed by an armed commando, and that stuff happens all the time over there, with the killings of what happens. But we're going to show a video. The first video we're going to show is they're actually talking on the radio as they're engaging.
Yeah. So what this is a live video of the police officers under fire and getting attacked, and they're calling out on their radios. And obviously, we're going to do our disclaimer and talk about the graphic nature of this video. And if you have children or people that don't want to watch this stuff, turn away, because this stuff is a graphic topic, and we are going to show graphic stuff. So without any more talking more about how horrible it is, let's go ahead and show that video, Nick.
K8, compañeros lesionados, K8, me estoy muriendo. K8, de volada, por favor, desen prisa, compañeros lesionados. K8, K8, en la aguililla, K8, heridos, X13, K8, K5 en la aguililla, X13.
Güey, nos tumbaron a todos casi, güey. A todos los conocidos. Entre ellos está Caín, güey. Está Eder, está el comandante Sergio Reinel. Todos, güey. Hasta ahorita van 14 que hemos encontrado. Y entre ellos van 3 heridos.
Dicen a las demás unidades que estén próximas, de favor. Ya vamos entrando nosotros con Sedena. Ya hay compañeros heridos de gravedad. Atiendan el reporte, compañeros, ahí. Difúndanle, de favor.
Yeah, so they're it's amazing what's going on. So what we're are we on, Nick?
You're not on camera.
Okay, all right. So walk us through what was going on. Obviously, we heard the audio of the guys under fire.
Yeah. So the first portion is the officers they're under fire, and you can hear one saying, "I'm dying," and you can hear the gunshots, and then and they're asking for backup, and then you can hear some of the officers that arrived at the scene, and they're over there saying, we need help. We found about at least 14 dead. Send us Sedena, which is the military. Stuff like that. And then you also see a couple of the narco banners, the narco mantas, and they're signed by the CJNG, which is the cartel de Jalisco. And they're basically saying this is for any police officer that collaborates with Templarios, that's the Knights Templar, and the Viagras, which is a cell of the Sinaloa cartel. They're gonna, they're gonna see the same. They're gonna, they're gonna.
This is the same fate.
Have the same fate.
Yeah.
So anyways, they left actually 2 banners there. They burned 2 of the vehicles. Some of the people that were
it looked like
injured,
a couple of those officers were burned.
Yeah, they were already dead, but they burned them while they were inside. So a lot of them got caught inside. They didn't even get a chance to get out of their vehicle. They were caught by surprise, and most of them were killed right away. And a couple of them that managed to survive, they held on, but they were ultimately killed. So we can show another video, and someone actually drove by the crime scene. Is filming the crime scene.
So this is some cell phone video of somebody that posted it, and it's kind of the aftermath of the whole thing. I mean, crime scenes over there are a whole different deal, where people are just able to drive through the crime scene and film it, I guess, because, yeah, you get videos like this all the time. But, yeah, so here's that video.
Pasando aquí. Vale, no se ve ni un cuerpo, no se ve ni un cuerpo nada más. Dale, mira nomás, se están quemando, papá, dale, se están quemando, dale.
Wow. Yeah, they're even they're amazed at what they're seeing. I mean, obviously that's not something you see every day down in their neighborhood, probably, and they're probably surprised that it's happening in their neck of the woods.
Well, you know, I mean, it's happening. I mean, that area right now is under dispute with cartel de Jalisco. I mean, that whole area, Tierra Amarilla, they're over there looking for El Marro, and they're looking for El Abuelo. So there's been a lot of activity, a lot of cartel activity there. That area, in fact, the youth department just sent out an alert saying that Michoacan area is, avoided if you can. So right now, you know, those area, Guanajuato, that's real close to that area, is under dispute. Jalisco cartel is trying to move in. They're going after the police officers that may be protecting some of the cartels. So there may be some of that going on. But, you know, the public, I mean, when you see that kind of stuff, I mean, it's still, it's still scary. You know, I mean, you can tell that guy's like scared to death. It's like he's telling them, "Oh man, so the trucks are on fire. Hurry up, go!" You know, I mean, he's worried about his safety, kind of deal. So, anyways, that's the 3 areas right now that are heated up. Is going to be Guanajuato. By the way, the president of Mexico just pulled the Mexican Marines out of the inland, and they've been assigned to the ports, and everybody's confused why he's doing that. You know, the Mexican Marines are probably one of the leading forces that are taking on the cartels.
Wow.
And so he's pulling them, and everybody's confused as to why he's doing that. They're needed in that area to really take on some of these cartels.
Yeah, that's an interesting move.
So everybody's like saying, there's a rumor saying that most likely El Mencho called someone pissed off and told them to, move some of these so they can operate, move some of these military people. So I don't know if that's true or not, but it just doesn't make no sense to move the leading military force that is probably some of the most trusted, not corrupt forces around, to move them out of the country, out of the fight. So anyways, that's crazy.
Yeah, it's that's what's been going on this week down there, and we're gonna keep reporting on this stuff as long as there's an interest in it, and we're gonna keep doing this show. And if you want to read more,
hey Alex, I got a question.
Yep.
Yes, sir.
I think it was somebody posted it about here at Albuquerque, the stash house. And
oh yeah,
you want to talk about that?
Yeah. So, so they actually this just happened here in Albuquerque, where they had human traffickers, and it was they basically, what happens with a lot of these people, that the coyotes, the Mexican people, a lot of them were Mexican, are paying these coyotes to transport them to wherever they need to be transported. So they made a stop here in Albuquerque. They held him at gunpoint, and they made him call relatives to send them money, otherwise they would be killed here in Albuquerque. So but basically what happened, one of the ladies called someone in Texas, a relative, said, "Hey, they're holding us hostage here at a safe house." They actually were using a safe house and also a motel. And the lady in Texas kind of, was concerned for the safety of her relative. So she got a hold of authorities. So they did a ping on the phone, found out that the house was here in Albuquerque. So Albuquerque Police Department got involved. They were able to locate the house. They were able to also locate the other immigrants that were in this motel. They made 3 arrests. It's like crazy. I mean, things like that happen all the time, but they never get caught. It's underground. Is that what you were asking me, Nick? Is that the thing that you were asking me, or?
Yeah, that was
That's pretty breaking news that just happened.
Yeah,
pretty big time
here in Albuquerque.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and that goes back to our guest we had last week. There's a lot of shit that happens, in the U.S. that nobody knows. If that lady wouldn't have called, she would have just sent the money because, they're telling her, hey, you need to send the money. Do not call the police because if you call the police, they're going to kill me. So you need to just wire the money. And, I think they wanted like $7,000. So they're trying to gather the money. They're concerned about their relatives. And they went ahead and notified the authorities. But many times they just send the money and they pay these people. And, they take advantage of the Mexican immigrants that are crossing in. And there's an example of what happens all the time with some of these immigrants that risk everything to come over here. And they're at the mercy of some of these coyotes that they don't give a shit about them. They just want to, make a profit. So it's really sad. So I'm glad that, I know it was a mess. I was actually, a dispatcher was telling me that was a mess. We're trying to coordinate with ICE and Homeland Security. We don't have a lot of Homeland Security and ICE presence here in Albuquerque.
Yeah, not in Albuquerque. They're all assigned to further down south. Yeah.
So when we have something like that, it is really hard to coordinate because we're not used to coming across that kind of stuff, but it happens. It's real. So it's out there. So, anyways, the book is out. So if you guys want to
shameless plug time.
Shameless plug. If you guys want to, get the book, the Borderland Beat. Basically, the time that I was involved from 2008 through 2013, a lot of drug cartel information, Mexican cartel information here. To commemorate the book, we also got a coin, real beautiful coin, a lot of detail on it.
It took us a long time to actually come up with this design. It's got a cool front and back. We should name this guy.
We should. So that skull in the front was designed by a local artist.
Yeah,
Susan Gomez. So it's very unique. It's actually on the cover of the book also. And they've been selling fairly quick, so we have a few. So if you're interested, let us know. We're only selling them for $15.
Yeah,
and
we're giving the damn things away.
If you look at the quality, it's amazing. The quality.
They're even cool, gold plated on the ends and the skull. It's get a hold of me or Alex. We're the only ones to have them. We tried to sell them online, but the cartel wouldn't let us sell them online. I don't know, the algorithms. They think they're violence or not. I don't know. For some reason, we tried.
So we tried to do some T-shirts, and they were like, "Oh, that's because the skull actually depicts violence by the weapons and the bullets and the guns and I don't know, and fire, whatever." But there's
a lot of detail in this coin that it doesn't give us justice on here. But yeah, if you look at it, there's a lot of cool stuff going on.
And then the other thing, if you have any information you want to talk about that?
Yeah, definitely. If you guys do have, if you guys are listening, have information that you want to share with us, obviously you don't have to do it through the normal social media channels and put it out there in the public. We have a great email that you can send it to, and that's borderlandbeat@gmail.com. It's very simple, very easy. It's just the name of the blog, name of the book, name of everything. borderlandbeat@gmail.com. If you have information or you're interested in talking about it on the show, kind of like we had Ovamex, we can disguise you, we can do it through Skype. We can get you on any different manner of ways, but just send an email to that email place, and we will check it. We check it daily. We check it constantly, and if you have information that you think is relevant to this show, then we'll definitely get it on, and maybe even possibly bring you on and talk about it if you're willing. So
we have a couple questions.
So we have a couple questions. Let's hear it.
One is, do you guys follow the narco's social media at all?
The narco social media. What's that?
Like any of the players, do they? I guess what they're asking is, do any of the cartels and members have social media that Borderland Beat follows?
back to what OVMX was talking, not the narcos themselves, although some of them do. Some of them will post. Just recently, we published on the Borderland Beat page, we published a whole bunch of pictures of sicarios, mostly from the Gulf Cartel, that actually took pictures of them holding rifles and wearing their mask and everything else. And one of the things that we try to do is expose them. That's them. And apparently the Borderland, the Facebook didn't like that. So they actually gave me notice not to post those things again. But, sometimes you find them. There's also a lot of social media on Twitter and Facebook of, like OVMX was talking, organizations or people that will report on some of the cartel activity, and we follow that. We get a lot of information from that.
But if you guys know of some sites that we should be following that we're not following,
Yes.
let us know. Send us an email or post it on Facebook or one of our sites, and we will definitely follow it if it's some valid information that you think we should be following up on or reading about. And if you have credible information that is coming from an actual player, then yeah, we want to know about it. And if it's credible, then yeah, definitely we'll follow it.
What's the other question, Nick?
That was like a two-parter. So
Okay.
Yes. So if you know about it, we will follow it, and we're always happy to collaborate with whoever is willing to collaborate with us and to share information. We're not in it to take any kind of credit. That's we're here to share information. That's all we're about. So get it to us if you're not willing to do it yourself, and we can put it out there for you.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. The questions and comments.
Perfect. OVMX, you still there?
No, she
Okay.
was having internet problems.
Okay, so we lost OVMX, but we want to again thank her for coming on today and talking to us about this stuff. Guests are going to be sporadic. We keep trying, but so I'm not sure how often we're going to have a show, but we will have shows when we can, and when we have super relative information, we're going to talk about it. And so on that note, we will continue to keep doing this show as long as we have an interest in it. And
there's plenty of interest.
Yeah.
A lot of fans are saying keep the show going.
So we appreciate you tuning in and give us some feedback, give us some thumbs up if you're on YouTube, subscribe to us if you're on Facebook, share it, let people know that we're out here, and we'll continue to keep doing it. And thanks to Bugs for getting
one final question. Sorry, Mark.
Oh, no, that's
It was
good.
a good one. Is the DEA trying to catch El Mencho?
Yeah, there's actually, I think, a $10 million reward from DEA.
Yeah, I think we posted that poster.
On the capture of Mencho. I think that Mexico is not doing enough to catch Mencho. But, he's huge right now. His Jalisco cartel, I mean, they are wanting to take over the whole Mexico. They're fighting like in 4 or 5 different fronts. They're fighting, up in the Gulf Coast. They're fighting on the Pacific Coast. They're fighting up north in the Michoacan, and they're moving north. So right now, the Jalisco cartel, Gente Nueva, Nugent, are basically, very aggressive. The 14 police officers, state police officers that we just reported on were killed by the Jalisco cartel. So they're in the news almost daily with a lot of activity, but nobody's close to catching, Mencho.
That's like catching any of these high-level cartel guys.
So it was the same with El Chapo. El Chapo.
It's going to take a long time to catch him.
They couldn't even get close to catching him. Many of these cartels, they corrupt a lot of the politicians, a lot of the law enforcement, and so they're extremely hard to catch. Because of their reach. So, but I think there's some people that are trying. The other thing that I heard was that the Mexican Marines that is seminar that is part of the naval intelligence was getting real close to catching them, but now they're moving them to the ports and the coast. So I'm not sure, I mean, they have been the ones in the past that have caught the major players, the big capos, including El Chapo, including Arturo Beltran Leiva, including Lasca. All those guys were caught through intelligence work, through the naval intelligence. And, I don't know what's going on with the president pulling them out and setting them aside, but who knows what's going on.
So if you guys, I mean, $10 million make you rich, but it's a dangerous proposition. So I hope that answers your question. The DEA obviously isn't going to tell us what they're doing, and we have no interest in getting involved in their affairs. And they're doing their job, and hopefully they take care of that situation one way or another. But if we don't have any other questions, I think we're going to wrap it up, and
Yes.
And we'll definitely be gathering information for the next show. And we appreciate all you guys tuning in and spending almost close to an hour with us. And we hope to keep doing a few more of these things until they take us off the air.
That's right. Thank you very much for watching. Until the next time.
Thanks, guys.